Welcome, everyone. My name is Stephen Halasnik, and I'm co-founder and managing partner of Financing Solutions. Financing Solutions is a leading provider of lines of credit to nonprofits. Our line of credit program is easy, inexpensive, and costs nothing to set up, making it a great cash backup plan for your nonprofit. If you'd like to learn more about the program, please visit us at nonprofitmbapodcast.com. And if you decide to apply today, we will even give you a $250 credit on file, or feel free to give us a call at 862-207-4118. Just remember, the time to set up your line of credit is today, not when you have the emergency that comes up. And our listeners should know, I mean, we have hundreds of small nonprofits that's our clients. And I can't tell you how many times, we honestly get calls saying, thank God they set up the line of credit, and they're glad they're working with us because no one else would. And, all this other stuff. It's good. It's nice to be needed. So, just consider getting it up. The PPP money's all running out. And for those of you who took advantage of that, and it's good to have a cash backup plan. Today, I am very excited to be speaking with Maribeth Canning from Maribeth Canning Consulting. Maribeth is a consultant who has served as a nonprofit executive, a chief development officer, and a foundation trustee. Miss Canning has 20 plus years of senior leadership experience creating strategy, influencing culture, and generating record fundraising results. Throughout her career, Maribeth built top-performing philanthropy programs and teams in healthcare, including the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. And she has inspired and personally secured multi-million-dollar transformational gifts and led teams which consistently exceed revenue expectations. Maribeth is a proven leader who succeeded in the face of uncertainty with an entrepreneurial, innovative mindset relative to today's environment. Maribeth Canning Consulting, MCC, partners with nonprofits to create resilient philanthropy and engages make sure they engage leaders and create paradigm shifts, reshape culture, and upgrade operations. Maribeth strengthens skills in producing high-performing, world-class fundraising to unlock the power of philanthropy. Maribeth, thank you and for coming on to today's Nonprofit MBA podcast.
I'm going to have to cut that bio down.
It's all good stuff. I actually like seeing. I think it's fine. That's good, and I appreciate really going over it.
Okay.
So today's topic is the Major Gift Fundraising Playbook, and I think my first question of you is, tell us what when you thought about this topic and you talk about the Major Gift Fundraising Playbook. Tell us what this all means.
Major gift fundraising is all about building relationships of trust. And that means that as fundraisers, we need to do our due diligence, which is about research. We need to be honest and genuine about our interest in learning who the particular individual or foundation funder is. So it's a process, and it's all about building a relationship. It's not about what I like to call hit and run giving. We're not just like, hi, Stephen, it's great to meet you. I've got a great cause. You've got a lot of money. Can I have some?
Yeah. When you were saying that, it reminded me of this one girl that I had, a woman who had working for me, and she was in sales, and before she would make any call, she would make sure she knew everything about the company she was calling, the industry that she was calling on. She spent a lot of time, and I was so impressed with her diligence in making sure she knew, and her calls. She would make the least amount of calls on clients that we had, and she would get the best results. So
Yeah.
it sounded very familiar.
Yes, exactly. It's about, there's lots of tools to help us, and there's also Google. So it really makes sense to, do the basic research, understand who these individuals are, and then, what might be their motivation for engaging with you. And if you do that work up front, look at their world and who you might have to make the connection for you. If you're able to find the right person to make the connection for you, you are moving forward in that relationship with the trust of the individual who's connecting you. And so you're immediately starting off, ahead of the game, but you've also done your research. So you have in your mind, a framework, and then you want to engage in what we call discovery. You want to have a conversation where you are in listening mode, and you are really engaging the individual in questions that tell you more about them, so that your conversation is aligned with what motivates and inspires them.
So the first step is really getting into detail about the person, their background, that stuff. Second step is listening, really being a big part of their, being present.
Yeah.
Let's go through the steps first. So those are the two of the
Excellent.
steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first, you want to do your due diligence. Second, you want to do everything you can to find an individual to either make an introduction for you, or find an individual that's is a member of your board, is a member of what we call the family that supports the nonprofit, because they're what we call an honest broker. For example, if I'm a paid fundraiser, that takes me one step away from the most honest broker. So if I can find that connection and find a certain level of trust. So if the two individuals went to the same school, for example, or serve in the same industry, or live 10 miles apart from each other, if the introduction comes from that individual, I get to kind of own some of the trust that's in that relationship, if they are kind enough to either accompany me for a visit, or do a Zoom call, introduce me by phone. If I can find that individual, I move like 50 steps ahead in building this relationship of trust. If I can't, I still have this research, so that I'm going into this conversation very well informed, and I have a framework, and then I'm going to engage them in questions, discovery. I'm going to engage them in a conversation which gives me more information, so that I really understand, as I said, what motivates and inspires this individual. So the first meeting or the first phone call is really about finding the connection between what an individual donor or potential donor, what inspires them, and what is it that the organization that I'm representing, what do we have that's a good match? We have lots of things that people may want to fund, but I should have those. I should have the funding priorities in my mind, and be kind of going through my Rolodex and thinking about, which of our initiatives should I have a conversation with them about? But they're the driver. And so the real skill, I think, we think of a fundraiser as a great presenter, and we need to be that, but we also need to be, great listeners. I think that's really the key of a good major gift fundraiser. So we've done our due diligence, we've moved on. Hopefully we have an individual that can make an introduction or engage in the conversation with us. we're listening, we're looking at body language, we're really listening and being present, as you said. That's one of my favorite words because it's very, very rare in this world. Everybody's checking their phone or, just strip everything away and be 100% present to this particular individual without an agenda, just
Yeah.
understand your goal is to understand who this individual is.
I wonder if as you're building or having this conversation,
Mm-hmm.
um, if it's even worth not even turning the corner to introduce your organization.
Mm-hmm.
If you let the client, so to speak, I'll use the word client, the donor,
The
whatever.
prospect,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
donor.
If you let them bring it up,
Yeah.
if you can,
I know why you're there. If we're talking about major gifts, one of the things that we've done is to make sure they have the capacity to make a major gift. We don't want to be asking people for inappropriate size gifts, and I'm not going to ask for the gift in this first meeting. So
yeah,
I can really lower. I can, I don't need to come into it with a agenda. Of course, I've done my due diligence. I know my organization. I represent them with a ton of enthusiasm, sincere enthusiasm, and not salesy enthusiasm. But I'm invested in this mission, and so that comes through.
genuine.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah,
Genuine, authentic.
yeah,
Even those words now sound so. Um, I don't know. There's such a difference between someone who's genuinely invested in a particular nonprofit that they're representing and somebody who's really doing sales. There's a
yeah.
there's a real difference, and we want to have a real conversation with this person, and so that requires really being present.
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit weird to say it, but
Yeah,
I several years ago, not even several, it's maybe 4 years ago. The singer Lady Gaga, right?
yeah.
She one of the people who worked for me, she kind of brought up the subject of the idea that you know, like that we wanted to be like Lady Gaga because she introduced the idea of of being authentic, not being who you are, being the company that who you are, and that when she said that, I was like, wow, and what you're seeing in at least the younger generation is that that's what they want, and I'm not suggesting that that is the younger generation is the donors we're looking at. But I think it's now what I've seen over the years, people are tired of the salesy type of approach. They want to be heard. They want to be listened to. They want to be told the truth.
Right.
And I
And
think
the good and the bad, every organization has things that at a particular time are not, going well. And,
yeah,
that's my value statement to the individual. I don't want to give you some song and dance. I want to tell you the truth, and we really need your help.
yeah,
But I'm not going to lead with that. I'm going to lead with,
yeah.
I want to know who you are.
And
Um,
see if we're a match, right? See if we're a match. Your
yeah,
interests, do
yeah, I
your
don't force
interests match
you to
up?
be anything. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I have a friend who is incredible at so good at networking that he actually made a company that just is built on networking. And I'm not talking about IT; I'm talking about people.
Yeah. Right.
And his whole attitude, his whole life has been about just make friends and try to help as a friend to try to help your friend with what they want. And I think
Mhm.
that sounds very similar to this, where you're kind of asking questions, you're learning about the other person, you're not thinking about closing the deal. You're just thinking about let's see if there's an alignment here.
Right. Right. And I think hopefully people who go into, to be a philanthropic advisor or a major gift officer, hopefully, that's a natural skill to them, to be naturally curious and
Yeah.
interested in other people. So I think, I've just had a, a real privilege of working with individuals who are working with major gift officers who are truly invested in the nonprofit that they're representing, and there's not. If that's the case, then you're all the things that we're supposed to be. Then you're genuine. Then you're authentic. You're not putting on anything. You're excited about this organization, and if the right fit is there, it will happen.
Yeah.
It will
Does
happen because we're going to represent them really well.
does it make sense to, before you go on your first call with somebody, um, to have like a list of questions that you fill out, or someone in your organization fills out for you, in regards
Mhm.
to that person? Like, what did the person do for a living? What do they do for a living? How do we find out about them? What are their hobbies? I mean, with the internet searches nowadays, you can find out so much about people.
I know
I
it's
mean, you
scary, and you
can,
don't want to be a creeper. And
right. Yeah, I know, you got to be careful, right?
so I think the natural questions are always, tell me about your family. Tell me about your family. Tell me about your business. How did you find such success? And, people light up when they're talking about the things that are really important to them.
So you don't think it sounds like what you're saying is, don't do what I just said. Don't do any pre
No, I
investigative.
Yeah, I think it's okay. The types of questions, there are certain types of questions that we use. They're open ended, and again, it sounds very formulaic, but I think if I'm lucky enough to be with an individual who already has a relationship with this individual or has some connection to them, then you know usually I would suggest to that individual that they talk about, listen, I am really invested in this organization, Stephen, and I wanted to bring Mary Beth here so she could get to know you, and we can have a conversation about what may be of interest to you. But first, tell Mary Beth a little bit about, why don't I tell you a little bit about what I know about Stephen, and then let's just have a normal conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
How
I,
do you?
the minute hi, I'm a major gift officer, which is why I'm a major gift officer. I'm not here for a small gift. I'm here for a major gift. you know,
Yeah,
it's so much better to be a philanthropic advisor, or I don't know, just it sounds so predatory, you know?
yeah,
So I wish we could come up with different titles, because really, that just is, I think, like, who wants to meet with a major gift officer or a philanthropic,
yeah, yeah,
even a philanthropic advisor? But I still think that's a little more in tune with, what we want to do is, find out who you are, and if there's a match, then have a conversation about things that might, match with your values and your vision and what really matters to you. Um, and so it takes time to build that kind of relationship where you're going to learn those things. But if we start with real places, tell me about your family, um, your children, there's, tell me about you. So, then the conversation is more authentic. It just starts off in a real place.
So this question has been in the back of my mind
Yeah.
for a while since we've been talking. I was, I kind of wanted to go one direction and work my way back. But how do you, keep in mind that a large majority of our listeners run small nonprofits. So,
Sure.
right. So,
Yep.
like, I think a lot of times it's the executive director, the executive director who's kind of trying to, work with the the bigger
Yeah.
donors. Um, how do you know when before you even meet with the person that you kind of qualify them as somebody who has quite a bit of financial capability? How do you kind of know that?
So the truth is, there's all sorts of different indicators, but the truth is that no matter how small the nonprofit is, if they are able to afford professional research, it is so much worth the effort, because the smaller the nonprofit, the less time they have to not be strategic. I mean, they can't afford to be blanketing the earth with direct mail that doesn't work. So, looking for individuals, if you invest in, the software that helps you to uh, identify those individuals that have given to organizations similar to yours, um, have the capacity, so that the smaller you can make your net, the more strategically you can use your time. So I think a lot of nonprofits think, we can't afford that fancy research. But it's become, much more affordable. Not that it's free, but, you can get professional research, for a year for $3,000, very high level professional research. And
Yeah,
then, you're really focusing on people that, have some sort of alignment, so that you're not, you don't have to blanket the earth.
yeah,
You
yeah.
want to have these, targeted conversations, because as a small nonprofit, you don't have time or the resources to be, just covering every base. So to
What
me,
would
research is very
sorry?
important. Investing in research is
Yeah.
the way to ensure you're strategic and not wasting time.
The what would you just what would you type into Google to kind of get to those research companies to kind of see what's out there? What would you what's the keyword that you would type in?
Sure. Um, you can you would just drop in donor, prospect research, you know, prospect nonprofit prospect research, and
Okay.
a host of companies will come up.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's not my world, so I don't really know what was out there. I don't think
Yeah.
I've
I
had.
mean, you can Google them, and you'll find out all sorts of interesting things, and that can help
Yeah.
you gauge. But using the softwares, they have all the right search engines, and so you'll find the individuals that probably have an interest in the space that you're in.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
can you use that space? I'm sorry, that software to look for donors that are in your area. So as a
Yep.
prospecting tool too. So not
Yep.
just Jack Doe, he's coming in to see me tomorrow. I want to see if he's qualified, so to speak,
Mhm.
and and then do research on him. But you could say, oh wow, these are the people in this area that have some.
Have the capacity
Yeah,
and what we call the affinity. They have the capacity to make they should have the capacity based on the software. We should be able to, understand, because, whatever is public information, um, so we should understand at least their real estate, any public stock. We may be able to see any public stock. I mean, it's kind of frightening, but
yeah,
I know it's frightening, but we all realize now that, every time, everyone is collecting our information all the
yeah,
time,
yeah,
so it is out there, and it's not illegal. But again, the smaller the nonprofit, I think the more important it is for them to, not waste time and resources, but to really identify, individuals that are most likely to be interested, and then to from there, who in the nonprofit circle might be able to make an introduction and a connection. And then do your homework, understand who what you can from the research, and then just go in there with the connector, for lack of a better word, and learn about who this individual is, who they are. And based on the conversation, just like you said, you're going to follow their lead. You're going to, and then, you'll be able to provide an update. You'll be able to provide something of value that is interesting to them, if you're really present and listening. So
I want you to think about that, when you first started getting involved in this, and when I say this, I mean, trying to work and develop relationships with big donors.
Yeah.
What was the thing that you remember that was your learning curve and your stumbling block, and the things that you kind of really you remember you had to kind of overcome, for those of us who are kind of newer to this?
Sure. I think that, for me, I think what I learned is that, I always do my due diligence, and I'm very prepared. I'm type A, and it's not about that. I mean, it's good. You never walk into a room or waste anyone's time by not being prepared for the meeting, but it's just, it's if I, do my work, I understand who my organization is, and then, I don't try to outline the conversation. If I just am present and real, that's, if I connect on that level, that's what matters. I don't have to, I just have to be, the more real I am, the more real they'll be. And that's where we find the connection, right? That's where we find the connection. It's not in, some perfect soliloquy with, these, it's not about that. It's much more about listening, and really being present. And because I know my organization, once I know who you are, I know what, I should know, and, and then I can check, I'd love to, what would you like to know about the hospital? What would you like to know about the food bank? Would you like an update? I can tell you a couple, and, find their interest and then go there. And, you know your organization well enough that you're flexible, that you can have this conversation. So I think, when you're younger, you want to do it perfectly. And then, just like everything, the more vulnerable we are, the more real we are, the better the connection.
Yeah. We have about 5 minutes left. So
You're kidding.
after, I know. Well, this topic could go on for 2-3 hours, right?
Yeah,
We could
I think so.
go on. And I know, at some point, at the end, I will ask you for some, where people can get some additional resources.
Sure.
But after you've gotten to that point, you've had the meeting with the donor, you did your research before you went, or you really, got a lot out of the call. What is the next thing that you kind of do later on?
So the next thing is in that conversation, how can I be of value? That's the question. How can I be of value to this individual? How do I add value? So you've had a conversation about this, that, or the other thing, and what you want to do is follow up on that. Let me get you more information about that. Let me, perhaps I can have, the content expert on that particular, most of my career has been in healthcare. So let me have you speak with Dr. So-and-so, who's actually done this research, so they can speak with you more directly about, their research and their passion. I can give you why don't I'll send you an overview, but let me set up a call for you if you'd like. And then
Yeah.
again, have the conversation. Just
Yeah.
again, most people, if you say, "Hey, would you like to go with me to talk with someone who may invest with us? May invest in our organization?" They're like, "Oh, you mean that fundraising stuff?" And I'm like, "No, I want you to talk about how excited you are about the research. That's all I want you to do."
Yeah.
You know? So that's what the next thing that I would do is provide value, send them an article, and then suggest, if you'd like, I can give you a tour of the particular wing of the hospital that you're interested in, or whatever it might be. And we talked a little bit about this research. If you'd like to talk with Dr. So and so, let me see if I can arrange a conversation.
And then, is there a next step after that?
Sure. There's lots of steps. So usually it's, a major gift is usually a series that can last anywhere between 3 months, which would be super quick, to a year, and sometimes longer. So I think it's it's the value proposition. It's continuing to bring value to the conversation, and making sure that you're continuing to represent your organization and provide content, and follow up on things. I think probably the best secret, if there is a secret, and now it's like a real novelty, but I've always been someone who handwrites personal notes. It's the things that it's the little small things that matter. I've had, people who have become donors that will pull out my handwritten notes and say, "I just love getting these notes," and they'll like share a stack with me that they've been keeping. So those thoughtful things. I worked with an individual who every single day ate a peanut butter sandwich. Big deal individual. They had peanut butter every single day. And for their birthday, I sent them a case of Teddy peanut butter. They're still talking about it because I was, because I listened. I listened, and he loves Teddy peanut butter now.
Yeah.
So
well, that's about being considerate, right? It's about
like the stuff your mom taught us.
Yeah.
So
let me ask. So let me ask you this. I'll put you in this scenario. You have this meeting, and the guy who comes in is Bill Gates. Right?
Right.
He comes in.
Say, have you called Bill Gates?
He comes in and he sits down with you, and you've done the playbook, so to speak. You've done all this, the things that you're really good at. And at the end, he says, "Okay, I'll give you $3,000 for your cause." And let's say you're running a pretty large organization. Is there ever a time when you kind of go back at Bill Gates at this point and say, "Bill, how would you word it? I don't know, Bill, do you, I was thinking closer to, 250,000, when someone comes in and kind of doesn't give you that much, do you say something?"
So usually I would, so here's what I haven't told you is, when the time is right, the relationship has been built, the individual is, giving me an indication, that they're interested. Then I usually talk about a program broadly. So I talk about the program broadly, like, this is what we need to get to the next level, of this research. We need this technology, whatever it might be. And that's that's going to cost us XYZ millions, right? And then when I come to that meeting where it's appropriate to be asking for the gift, I would, I've been listening, and so I might come to that conversation with, the large project is this, and there are many components of it. I was wondering if you would be interested in making a gift between this and that amount to do, to bring us to this point. And in my mind, I can, and if they say, well, then you have to be comfortable talking about money. We're talking about money now. So this is this is the scope of the project. This is what this is along the lines of what I was thinking. And I'm really interested in this particular thing. And I know, okay, so on the one end of the spectrum, we could launch a pilot. On this other end of the spectrum, we can launch the whole program. So between, $25,000 and 3, 4, 5, 10 million, we can really get somewhere. Where do you feel most comfortable?
Yeah.
And, people come right across and they'll say, but if you set some parameters for that, if you kind of the same thing, if you're still in discovery, if you put out some numbers, say this is the scope, and they'll immediately react. Like,
Is it common?
They're going to give you feedback, right? Wow, I wasn't thinking of anything along those lines, and
Yeah.
I would say, I'm just giving you the scope of the whole project, and and here's how it needs, here's how it will roll out. Here's what I hear you telling me about your interest. And so we're in this range. Is that comfortable for you? Is that something you consider?
Now, the scenario
So
that we just the scenario we just painted, is that more common than uncommon, where somebody doesn't say, okay, well, here, I'll give you, before you have that discussion, they say, oh, okay, I'm going to give you X amount of money. I guess you might even introduce
sometimes,
that concept to get more, right? Uh,
well, you yes and no. I mean, you're not pulling any punches. It's not like, so I want to tell you the honest truth. This is what the scope of the project is. This is the scope of the project. This is the area you're interested. This is what it's going to cost, right? So, and they're going to self-identify. They're going to have a response. I'm going to see a response that, they're going to be like, whoa, wow. And so I'm going to react, or like, wow, Mary Beth, you're not wasting any time here, are you? Or they're going to be, they're going to give me an indication if I'm really paying attention.
yeah, no, I would think too,
And I think
if you didn't do your initial steps and you come back with that, request that's really high so quickly, then it's also maybe a sign that you didn't do
that's
your
on me.
development. Yeah. So
Yes.
I'd be like, you know what? It wasn't the right time yet. I hadn't developed a relationship. I didn't learn. I also maybe didn't present, our organization in the best way. I have to get better at this next time. And, it's always a challenge.
It's not a one and done. Again, hopefully
Mm,
we've built enough trust that, if they come in, lowball, and I've done, I've done things as well as I can. I've had the introduction. I've approached them well. Then I would say, I really appreciate this gift. This makes a difference. This is what we'll be able to do with this. I'm going to report back to you on the results of your investment, or your gift. I'm going to keep in touch with you and let you know how this particular research, or this particular wing of the hospital, or whatever it is how it's doing, and most importantly, how the benefit to our patients. I'm going to get back to you, and I'm going to keep the conversation going.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm not going to like make them crazy, but I'm going to kind of gauge what's the right time for me to have another conversation with them. What can I provide them of value? about their investment. And the more I do that, without, pressure sales, the better results I get.
I get it.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
So
If people want to learn more about what you're talking about, do you have information and additional stuff on your website?
I do. I have a blog. I have resources under my website, um, either under resources or the blog. You can learn more, and you can always call me. You can always call me and have a conversation with me. I think probably um, I'm very enthusiastic about what I do, so it will. There's no way I'm not going to give you something of value in a
Yeah.
conversation. Yeah, but
Yeah.
you can learn enough from me, looking at my website about who I am and the approach I use.
Yeah. What's your website address?
Sure. It's Mary Beth, Maribeth, Canning, Canning, consulting. How's that for an original name? Consulting.com. And I also have Mindful Philanthropy. And that's when I work on the other side of the table. So I work with philanthropists, multi-generational families, and entrepreneurial businesses to help them develop kind of a plan for their philanthropy that is going to kind of be really meaningful for them, so that they're not feeling like an ATM machine. Hopefully they're
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
conversations with the organizations, that it's, really fulfilling for them.
If although I've been on a small nonprofit board for a long time. Um, I've never been an executive director, and that's a lot of our listeners here today.
Yeah,
And you know, executive directors are running around
I
like
know.
crazy. They're really busy, and I think once you really kind of get the hang of it, my guess is you're looking to move into more of this area where it allows you to develop relationships, allows you to make a bigger impact on the money that's coming into the nonprofit. I think it's a natural progression for executive directors who are newer at their job, and I'm talking about a couple of years, to be
Mm.
able to move into this idea of major fundraising donors.
Yeah, I think that at least for me, I started off as an executive director of a small nonprofit, $500,000 budget. Um, and, what you realize really quick is that, in these small nonprofits, it's very hand to mouth. And it's like, I have to bring as much as I need to be an executive director and understand be a manager and understand the content of what it is the organization does and be able to articulate that. I also, I got to do this fundraising. I have to, because I got to, a long time ago, I was taught no money, no mission. So I don't think if there's an executive director out there that doesn't understand that fundraising is a really important part of their job. It's really important to get comfortable with it, because you, in a big shop, in a little shop, you represent the organization, and if people are going to give a gift of means, they want to talk to you.
Yeah, yeah,
They want to talk
good
to the
stuff.
leader.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, lot more. I'd love to see, look on your website and kind of, I would suggest that there was, take a closer look at Maribeth's website and then give her a call too. Talk to her.
yeah,
If
I'm
I would
chatty.
imagine that, yeah, I would imagine if you're doing the right things, you know, you'll make a big impact on people' ability to get raise funds. I would imagine. I mean, I had a personal coach for my business for 10 years, and for what she charged me was nothing compared to what it, I benefited from it. So it makes a lot of sense to me as
Yeah, that's
well.
a really good way to think about it. I really, I think fundraising, people's reaction to it is always like, oh, but I really think we bring purpose and meaning we help people live a life of purpose and meaning, and we connect, individuals uh, with organizations and missions that connect with them. So it's a great
Yeah.
job, and it brings a lot of joy to both sides of the equation.
Yeah, I think it's the way you frame things. If you can frame it in a way that really excites yourself, then there's different ways of looking at it. And if you put your own little personality and approach onto why you're doing what you're doing,
Yeah.
um, it makes a big difference. Especially if you have someone who's not a Type A personality. They have to, maybe that's not the most the funnest thing they do.
Yeah.
uh, and so now you change it so that it fits your
Right.
approach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because everyone, I have a lot of enthusiasm, and I have to moderate myself. Sometimes I have to, kind of, I can be. I'm very enthusiastic about the causes I work with, the causes I have worked with, and so, I think everybody has their style, but we also have to be aware of what is going on for the other person and somewhat moderate ourselves.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Cool. All right, good stuff. So, that's all the time we have for today. It was a great topic, and I would like to thank so very much Maribeth Canning from Maribeth Canning Consulting for coming on to today's podcast. It was great. And if you like today's podcast, please feel free to share it with a friend, and also subscribe on your favorite podcasting app. The Nonprofit MBA podcast is becoming really popular. We're getting thousands of listeners. And if you like today's podcast, please give us a review on your podcasting app and help us get the word out by telling other people about the Nonprofit MBA. And of course, if you're looking for a line of credit for your nonprofit, you can call us at 862-207-4118 or visit our website at nonprofitmbapodcast.com. Um, Maribeth, I'll have all your website and contact information in the notes from the show.
Thanks.
And, again, it's maribethcanningconsulting.com, Maribeth Canning, Canning consulting.com. And I just want to thank everybody out there for making the world a much better place. We are, all responsible for our part in making this world better. And, over the last couple of years, it's been a challenge, and we need to do our part. So I want to thank everybody. Everybody have a fantastic day and really enjoy, get outside and go do something. And it was great having you on board. I'll see you. Bye-bye.